Welcome back to A Tales of Two Bros. I am Angel,
Ramadan.
and this is our marvelous review of Eternals and Disney's Plus previews. Bum, 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 bum. Spoiler alert, just in case you have not seen it. I just came back from the theaters of watching Eternals. I would have been back a lot sooner if not for the 30 minutes of damn previews. Holy crap. Last time I've been to the movies was Venom, and I don't remember the previews being 30 to 40 minutes long.
Yeah, no, they went ham on the
Holy crap.
previews,
Did
and
they?
I know it's because they anticipate this movie's going to be getting a lot of good viewings, which is kind of funny in the sense that it's not. But overall, they shoved so many previews into the beginning.
There were so many previews, I was like, done. I just want to see the movie. Just give me the damn movie. Now, granted, in the whole theater, there was like, including me and Kim, another person who sat right next to us. So that's three, four other people, seven altogether in a nice, those comfy dine-in theaters that
Mm-hmm.
AMC has. Granted, also AMC is not our sponsor, not yet. But anyway, it was. That's one other thing. Before we go into the movies, that's one of my other. I have a lot of pet peeves, but the one where people sit right next to you in an open, empty theater, just like a person on a treadmill. You're running by yourself, and there's like 10 treadmills empty, and a person picks one right next to you.
Yeah, I never
I
understood that. Like, this is weird.
I totally agree. I was like, why? Why is there a need? Like, you have this open space, but you have this need to be next to someone. How lonely are you?
The worst is
I
if
don't
they're
get it.
like that person that's like they're constantly making noise or messing with their phone while they're next to you.
Or they're talking to the screen or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, luckily, this person next to us was chill. I was talking more than anything because of
I can
what
believe
was
that.
happening. Uh,
Well, because I've seen the movie. I'm like, oh, I know him.
right. But anyway, so let's get back on topic here. Eternals, off the bat. Did you like it?
I'm gonna go with a yes,
Okay,
but
I was
it's
like,
a
damn.
with an asterisk.
I liked it as well. Now, I don't know the story of the Eternals. I don't know their history. So I took it with a grain of salt and I was impressed and pleased of what I did see. You can't help with doing the comparison of like Justice League, Icarus, just like Superman, Athena, Wonder Woman,
Makari, Flash.
Fastos, and she was dressed in red
Hmm.
like the Flash, where and Icarus is dressed in blue like Superman. You have Fastos that's like the Tony Stark and not necessarily Batman, but kind of the engineer,
Mr. Was Mr. Terrific.
the guy with the mind
Druig.
control,
Druig
Druid.
would
Yeah,
be closer to like maybe Martian Manhunter with the mind control abilities.
right.
Hmm.
And almost like Batman in the sense of he was wearing black.
Hmm.
You have Sprite. I mean, I couldn't think. I all I thought was like, why is she named after a drink?
Well,
But also,
I've
you
been
notice
I've
like
been educating myself, so I'll go into those.
if you notice like a lot of these also the names are like what we know later down. Icarus, the one who's flown too close to the sun,
Hmm.
and Athena, the goddess of war. But you can go ahead with that because I know some of it, and then of course it falls into folklore and your
Okay,
explanation,
so
what you
for
learned.
the comic explanation for their names actually comes from the folklores and whatnot, and everybody. I'm not like the aficionado in regards to this, so don't hold me officially to to
Just gotta get it out there.
the facts and knowledge here. I remember them in the comics, but not as well, so I had to do some quick research before I watched it and a little bit afterwards. In the comics, they're all essentially human, but they were altered. The Celestials came to Earth. There was humans, and they created three beings: humanity, and they altered their DNAs. One to be like wildly sporadic genetics, which caused the deviants, which the deviants will evolve, change rapidly, and so forth. And then there was the Eternals, which was like the perfect version of what humans could be.
Okay.
So Eternals, their job was to basically monitor humanity, but Deviants was also supposed to cause like the chaos of humanity. Is like to cause a balance interact. Eternal's main job is to make sure Deviants don't get out of control, but Deviants kind of push humanity by causing a little bit of chaos here and there. From what I gather. Otherwise, I have no idea what purpose they really have other than that in the comics. But
Mm-hmm.
where their names came about was because you had like the Greek gods and the Roman gods and so forth like that. So the Eternals were sought and viewed as gods, and a lot of them bore similarities to them. So they adopted those names, and even the Greek gods in the Marvel comics allowed it to happen. Athena actually met Athena. She became the representation of Athena on Earth, and because there was just so many similarities. And Athena was technically the daughter of the Eternal Supreme, like Prime, who was not Ajak. In the comics, Ajak is the communicator of the Celestials and does communicate, but there was there was like a whole bunch of Eternals there,
Mm-hmm.
way more than what
Right.
you
Yeah.
see here. And technically, they all have the same power on sets, but they specialize. So they all could do mind control. They all could lift 25 tons and so forth. But if they choose to specialize in a skill, then they become the one that's meant to control that skill. Like Cersei, she was good with matter manipulation and augmentation. Druid, for example, was good with mind control, but in the comics, he could do the same thing as Cersei. Sprite actually got her name
From the soda.
no, from the mythological creature that's known as a Sprite, kind of like a fairy. In the comics, was the inspiration for Peter Pan. She actually like did the little dream for the creator and whatnot, and like play tricks on him and so forth. It's basically a small Loki, is what Sprite was. The whole Icarus name thing in the comics, it's not because Sprite gave him that name. If I remember correctly, that was the name of his son. Our Icarus left on a mission, but because they don't age, they have a loss of time. Like they don't realize
Mm-hmm.
the time difference. When he came back, his son had died trying to act like his father and basically
Mm-hmm.
fell off a cliff. I could be wrong, everybody. If I am, correct us and give us the reference 100%. But he came back and he realized his adopted son had passed away. So he chose to take on the name of Icarus
Okay.
in
To honor
honor of
his
his
son.
son. Mm-hmm. Now,
Okay.
in the comics, just to give power levels, Athena and Gilgamesh are technically the two strongest. And Athena is definitely the best fighter next to Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh was strong as hell.
But Icarus, they like souped him up so much because he's like, none of you could beat me. I'm like, that's not how it works. Almost all their some of them they match the nationalities of what they are in the comics, and some of them they
Mm.
change their genders and nationalities, which
Oh.
still works because in the comics they live forever. They just get
Mm-hmm.
reincarnated every time they die. So every time they
Right.
get resurrected, they actually sometimes switch things up. The only one that doesn't is Sprite. Always comes back as a child.
They were kind of like the Silver Surfers of their Galactus
Yeah,
in a way.
essentially.
And that's what I got because they just get repurposed onto another planet once when a planet gets.
It's a certain level of intelligence
I'm just saying. Well,
or
what was the
energy.
god's name with
The
an A?
Red
It was
Celestial. I know who you're talking about.
yeah, yeah. I'm just trying to. I thought it was an H.
Which is funny because they took that version of like how the Celestials birth themselves from Earth X series.
Yeah, it wasn't an A. It was an Erisham. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
you're right. Erisham. Yeah. Well, he was the one that like gave birth, I guess, to the thing. And what's kind of messed up though is like I didn't get I didn't understand where he's like a Pfizer or a pharmaceutical company that creates a disease and then also creates the cure. So he created the deviants, but then he created the Eternals to fight each other. It didn't make sense to me.
So the main purpose of in the movie now, for everybody who hasn't seen it, the main purpose of the Deviants was to kind of go to a planet that was prehistoric life, where it's not really building
Oh, I got
intelligence.
it. Yes.
So they're
Yeah, right,
basically
right,
there
right.
to take out the predator, so the small life could grow intelligently.
The intelligence, the human life in this aspect
Mm-hmm.
to become more intelligent, to adapt, to adjust to their situation. So I guess that's what it was. Deviants were because I was just kind of confused at first. I was like, wait a minute, but I guess he was on a timetable, so he kind of rushed it to let that happen.
Kind
I
of.
think.
He released
Maybe
them
I'm.
all amongst the universe, and really, the Celestials are powerful enough. If they wanted to, they could have just erased
No, I
the.
know, but I guess they needed the intelligence. It was kind of like I guess fuel
Mhm.
for the next one to be born. I did like this film. I took it not with high expectations. I was a little more enjoyable. I did like the ensemble from another video that movie we reviewed. You know my thing about recasting the same actors to do almost everything here. And I think that Gemma Chan,
Why, you think she was in something else from Marvel?
Gemma Chan, yeah, she was in Captain Marvel. She's one of the blue. She was one of the ones that were fighting
Oh.
Captain Marvel. We had this talk, bro. You
What?
forgot she was recasted again. So I guess she did such a good job in that role, and then she was Blueface. They said, "Well, you know what? We'll make you the lead in the Eternals." Which I'm like, you gotta be effing kidding me. It's like so you can paint someone. Oh, in that case, well, let me just talk. Let's talk about the good first. Let's talk about the good.
Let's break
Now,
this down because I like there are some things that like I thought there were some more slow moments than you did. Granted, the movie's like 2.5 hours long.
the slow parts, I wasn't bored.
I get that.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. I wasn't bored. It maybe the tempo did break it down. I like the aspect of Fatos where he moved on because
Mm-hmm.
he saw the error of their ways and that human life can't really be saved. So he went to live, have a family. Granted that, there's some talk or controversy because he's gay. And I'm like, who the hell cares? Now, I don't know if it's because he's gay, a black man that is gay, or he's gay and he's married to a Muslim, or it's like, what is
It
really
could
is it
be
is
any
it
one of
because he's
those
gay?
or all of them.
Right. And now there's like, who cares? To me, there's all this controversy with these superheroes are now gay, blah blah. It's like, why is it such a big deal to certain people that these characters are gay or straight or pan or tran or what
Mm-hmm.
have you? Are the heroes doing the right thing? Or are the villains doing the wrong thing? That's what should count, right? Good versus evil. It shouldn't matter really if the person is a catcher or a pitcher. It shouldn't matter if the heroes cross dress. They actually do anyway when they wear the costumes. They are actually that form of dressing. It just doesn't matter. It's just sorry. Are they on the side of good or bad? And it's also good to show that Disney, the parent company of Marvel, is being a little more
Open.
open. They're not so tightly wound as they used to be. I love the cast. The cast was great. Did a great job. I was not thinking like, oh, they picked the wrong person for this or they picked the wrong person for that.
Mm.
I do have a problem with people being recasted, just recycling the same actors. That I do have a problem with, but they were done right here. Do you have a favorite scene?
Some of the scenes with the Celestials, the main Celestial, when
Mm-hmm.
they like show him and like you see the size difference of the Celestial versus the planet and the people, and
Mm-hmm.
and like they're communicating with Ajax and Cersei, I was like, wow, because that's how they are in the comics. They're like massive. They can alter their size if they wanted to, but they always depict them as like being miles tall, if not bigger than a planet, which makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. So it was kind of cool. I would say if I had to pick a good scene, oddly enough, I didn't like the end fight scene as much as I liked the earlier fight scenes, like when they were protecting Babylon and they were
Mm-hmm.
introducing like their power onsets to the characters. I thought
Right.
that was kind of cool, and like the dynamic of how they were interacting with the community. I thought that was really cool. And like Druig's character, he's like, we could save these people. And he just takes
Right.
control of all of them and he's like, I'm walking away. So like those kind of things were really interesting to me. But funny enough, it wasn't like one scene that leaped up at me that I was like, this is really cool. Although I did like the part where she was like, is that the ebony blade? She goes, no, that's Excalibur.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
But
makes
then,
sense to they because they've been all over the place, really. It's not like they stuck around one area.
okay, well, I do have a little issue with that. We'll go back to that. Not the sword itself, but in a sense of it was like some plot holes for me.
Oh no, there was definitely plot holes.
Oh, there's a lot. For me, I like when they find Druid again
Oh, the village. Yeah,
in the
that was
village,
actually good. Yeah.
and you can see their powers again, and you see the struggle Athena's having with her
It's
other
like a form
show
of
where,
dementia.
well, not necessarily form of dementia. Because she remembers one of her past lives.
Yeah, yeah. But the way
So
they
she
describe
knows,
it.
right, that she's losing it. It's one of her past lives coming back, reliving it. That scene was really good with, Gilgamesh, Athena, and then Icarus, and all of them fighting, doing their thing to protect the village as best they can. Angelina Jolie, gorgeous. You just look at her, you just like, wow. Like her cheekbones. Granted, she's like a rail, but her way she stands and her costume, how it fits her, the way she carries herself,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, wow, you can believe this girl can kick ass,
Yeah,
even
she
though
carries
she,
herself in a way of like she's like I'm the Xena reborn.
or Wonder Woman, if you will.
Yeah.
Granted, now how much did she do herself in the sense of the fight choreography? It's kind of hard to tell, but you still believe it. Every time she's on, she just owns the scene. Even
Yeah.
if she's not saying a word, you're just drawn to her.
A lot of times in the storyline, her character was one that they argued about her becoming the new Prime in place, and there's been like feuds going back and forth. So that makes sense to me that they would have someone to give that performance as you're describing. If she wasn't losing her mind and she said, "I'm stepping up," I think they probably would have sided with her over Icarus, setting aside the whole Cersei situation.
Mm-hmm. Was there any parts that you didn't really care for?
Well,
Was there a
let's
scene?
finish about what we liked. What I
Okay.
did like, not a specific scene, was the how it was filmed overall. So like the I know the director was very well known for their cinematography and everything. And for me, they did a great job. The scenery was as much a play of the film. Like when they were in the
Mm-hmm.
desert, Babylon, the ocean shores, even the city at times, like in I think it was London, became a character of its own each time they were in a
Right.
different scene. I heard that this director was known for using lighting very well, natural lighting to give it like those effects. But they even
Mm-hmm.
use like some of the sounds. Like I remember when they were at the end scene and they're just talking and you can hear the ocean crashing as they're talking. And I'm like,
Right.
nothing else is going on. Like so for me, the sound score, the scenery, the cinematics of it overall was what kept me going with the film.
The ship.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
going to jump around. Very cool. It kind of reminded me of Thanos's grand ship and also the ship in.
Oh, Ronin ship as well.
Uh, but also, you notice that the core of it, meaning it was black with some gold lines going through,
Mm-hmm.
almost like it was put together, similar to the house of He Who Remains
Did not
and
notice
his
that.
watch. I noticed that. I don't know if it has anything to do or relates, but I saw that it had some of that in there on the outer shell, and also had the little circles, like their uniforms, stuff like that. Is there a possibility there's a relation there with He Who Remains, Loki, and the Internals?
Could be.
Will they tie it in? Remember, every movie, well, in phase one, two, three, well, not four yet, but one, two, and three, it was all going to one direction. Even though they were out here, it's all came together to one thing. So I'm just wondering if they're laying the eggs there as well, that possibly He Remains has some technology from there or took some technology
I mean,
from there.
that's definitely not outside of the realm because he who remains is like the guy who remains at the end of time. So he has all the future tech that no one has,
Mm-hmm.
including not just on what's on Earth. He has like well within the reason that he has celestial tech. In the comics, even Apocalypse, his body is made partly from celestial. His armor, like he fused
Mm-hmm.
himself with his celestial technology. But
But
I'm
that's
getting
X Men.
sidetracked. That's what I like about this movie because I'm like they brought in the celestials. They didn't play it off like they weren't going to be there. I'm like if they bring in the X-Men, that means I'm one step closer to getting a better Apocalypse. I love Apocalypse.
And I'm glad they're going to be a part two. I want to see Athena. I want to see, not Gilgamesh because he's done.
Well, technically, he could come back. The way
Right,
that
because
they, the way
they're like
that they,
robots or in a way.
well, what happens is when they die, in the movie, they show the like the temple or the tower or like the city that they were trying to go back to. Spoiler is
Mm-hmm.
one of the end credit scenes. The reason why they keep getting reset is because they just kill them on the planet when a celestial is born, and they download their minds back into a new body, and they do keep the memories there. So he just said the main celestial just said like I just wiped them clean, but really you guys could carry on your memories, and that's how it works in the comics. They die, they resurrect using a giant machine. That's how they can come back, and that's also how they can come back as a new, either as a male or female or different nationality. So that's how come they can swap all the time. And so Gilgamesh could come back, and he's been known in the comics as like the forgotten one. He was a Gilgamesh among the Avengers, like West Coast Avengers. He teamed up with like Hercules and all of them.
So I liked him. I mean, I couldn't help but see him and think of Wong. I know they're not the same person,
Yeah,
but think
every
of
time I
those
see him,
two.
I think of Train to Busan.
Is
That's
he
what.
from there?
Yeah, he's in that movie.
Oh, there you go then.
He's a
See,
big dude.
I
He's
haven't
the
seen
big
that one.
dude, and like he had an epic moment in that movie too.
I know that's a trilogy. That's part of a trilogy, isn't it?
Train to
I heard
Busan.
it's part of
They
a
made an
trilogy.
animated prequel, and then they made a sequel, which I don't know if it's out yet. You don't need to watch either of those. You just watch the one movie. You're good.
Now, even though I did enjoy this film,
Mm-hmm.
I found some loopholes or plot holes, if you will. One off the bat, their look. They've been on Earth for 77,000 years. They look the same. Their hairstyle is of 2021. They're before the birth of Christ. Their style, their outfits. I was like, you couldn't really.
They're pioneers, man. They were inventing things before everybody else had a chance. So they're like,
I
you see
understand.
this? You see that curve there? That's a new thing. You want to use that.
I understand it, but you would think like their hair, at least their hairstyle will be different. But they had the perfect sideburns, perfectly parted to the side. The only one that looked messy was Sprite.
Yeah.
Her hair was all over, like whatever, something like that, little nuances. And then the costumes, their outfits. Again, before the birth of Christ, and people are dressed as like in rags, but these guys are dressed like in high tech. I don't know. It would have been nice to see them evolve through the times. It was just too pretty. It was just too perfect from back then to now.
I can agree with that.
That's just that's just my take. Icarus has a perfect 5 o'clock shadow
Always.
back then and here.
Well, some of the hike did
Yeah.
change. Her styles was the one that changed the most when she was flashing back to like the farm to one other.
I'm not talking about the outfits though. That's like more of like the outfits, but I'm just talking about her. The face. I mean, the face is made up. The hair doesn't. It's not all like
Well, that's what I meant.
raggedy as
Like
you would.
besides Sprite, like her hair and her style, like was the only other
Mm.
one that really changed. Icarus always had that 5 o'clock shadow. Cersei always had the hair, like even when we're looking at it, everybody, if you're looking at this background, that's pretty much how they look throughout the entire thing, except for
Yeah, the
maybe
hair does.
Fastos. They added earrings to him and like removed and put glasses on him every now and then.
The hair is the same length. That doesn't get long or or short, and
Mm-hmm.
doesn't bother anyone else. But it was bothering me. As like these flashbacks. They all look. It didn't change except for Fausto's with the earrings, like you said, and the glasses.
Yeah.
Who doesn't need glasses? I guess he just as a disguise. If I did like the fact that they did go in, they played around with DC, calling out like
Yes.
Superman,
Mm-hmm.
and should I call you, should I call you Clark? So they broke that.
Barrier.
We've seen it before with Deadpool, where Marvel and DC kind of had that little, I guess, agreement of not to bring others in. But now they're like, screw it, let's do it. Other nitpick I have is with the ship that is buried for how many years again?
Like 1,000 at
70,
least. So like
70,000? Yeah.
several thousand.
So how is the speedster in and out? There's food there. There's stuff found.
Yeah, they don't explain if there's a secret passageway that Makari was able to get in or out. Because you're right, there are more current materials and items that they had Twinkies.
And chips. I was like, how is that possible? Where does that like? There was no explanation on that and how she survived, unless she's like in a
Technically,
sleep chamber.
they
But
don't need to eat. It's not required for them.
well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't explain that either. I just know that from the
But
comics.
they don't need to eat, so why is there food,
They enjoy
right?
it.
And then how you get in and out? If it's buried so deep that you needed Fausto to do his Doctor Strange kung fu hand techniques to bring it up,
It's jutsu.
which reminded me of
The Naruto jutsu?
the no Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, okay. Or
The
coming out
final
from under
order.
the ice.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so they're doing that now. That part bothered me in that sense of how to get all these artifacts in there through the time frame of 7,000, before Christ was born till present day. Again, if that was explained, that would be kind of cool. But at the same token, it's just showing that they're thieves.
Oh no,
It wasn't
they established Makari was like they never established what she was trying to get like a jade tablet for, but yeah,
right. That was
they
one.
did tend to collect things and take things.
You have any nitpicks?
Yeah, I got a couple. And this is probably one of the reasons why I don't think it's going to be as popular a film as they were hoping. It didn't characterize itself like geared towards the younger audience at all. Case in point, the scene between Cersei and Icarus, where it's like a love scene, they're like
Oh,
that close to kind of pushing what a love scene is and still be PG-13. Granted, it's just
mm.
them topless on the stones, but you still see them gyrating. If I was a kid and I was watching that with our parents, my mom and dad would be like, "Cover your eyes." That's a small thing, but that is one of the reasons I'm thinking to myself, this is why it's not catching on like Guardians did. It's not hooking that younger audience.
They try to with the music.
They did, but music
Uh,
could only do so much.
Right, but this one of the end credits, I was like, "Are you epic?" Well,
We'll get to that.
that's another nip.
The other nitpicks I had was how they handled some of their characters. For example, the deviant that got intelligent and was killing them.
And I was liking that though.
Well, he's cool, right?
I was like, "Oh, I like what they're going here with this guy."
I didn't like
I
A,
see.
that they killed him.
Well, I did like. I like the way he did die though.
So that was cool. Yeah. Perfect for Eternals 2, though, if he lived. And I'll tell you why. Because in the comics, him and Athena are lovers. In the comic books, that character's name, that deviant, went by the name Crow. He's like one of the oldest deviants, and I think he's now the deviant in like prime or whatever in charge. And he can slightly shapeshift, not a lot, but like, he can do a little bit of shapeshifting. But he's known for being intelligent. He's been on again, off again lovers with Athena, and it was like viewed as a negative thing in their community, and they even bore children together. So I was like, oh, if they kept him alive, and if he does have the memories of Gilgamesh, and they just make him his own character, he would be a fantastic villain to carry on into the next movie. And then she's like,
Right.
nope. I'm like, okay, that would have been a great building of a character.
Yes, it would have been nice if he wasn't killed.
Druig actually is like an on again, off again villain character amongst the Eternals.
He seemed like that.
He seemed like that, right? But he's
Yeah,
like he's just pretty much doing his own thing, and I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
they could have had him become a little bit more darker if they're going to do that, so that because they were trying to do subterfuge throughout the movie, like who's really the bad guy kind of situation throughout the whole
Right.
thing. Those missed opportunities for me is where I was kind of having some issue with. Black Knight Dane Whitman. I love some of the references they did with him, but he was definitely underutilized. And
Oh yeah.
I was like, and I'm not the biggest Kit Harington fan, no offense. I definitely wanted to see more of him, and I wanted to see like what his character would do and bring to the table. And like they did not utilize him at all.
Especially that scene where Crow
Yeah.
comes and he's just like a regular guy. They go up the bridge, Sprite and Cersei, like no problem. And then he tries, he's like, oh, I'll just take the stairs. It would have been nice
That
to
was
show
funny
that
though.
he has some, it was, but it would have been nice to show that he has some athleticism, that he was not totally useless, that he had like training there. Because he was leading to it when he was about to tell Cersei, my family has a history.
Like, when they
Right.
talk
He's
about his
just useless.
uncle patching up his past with his uncle, the ring, and then the reference about Excalibur and the Ebony Blade, those are all sprinkled in for geeks like us, but for the ongoers, they don't know. That also begs the question because, like in the comics, that him and Cersei do have a very ongoing, long relationship, but albeit
Hmm.
not intentional. Like at one point, it was kind of like forced upon them to have like a kind of marriage between the two of them. It was to keep her from having that dementia madness that Athena went through. But in the comics, it's
Um,
different reasoning.
think
Oh,
of
I will say
that.
one thing I did like. I was a fan of Kingu by Kamal and his sidekick,
Oh yeah.
Karun. I love the
Yeah.
dynamic between those two.
Hmm.
Fantastic. It was fun. It made me laugh every time. It
Yeah.
was kind of off about like him doing like energy blasts with like guns.
One of them, I said to Kim, Shoryuken,
Yeah, he did
because
do
he
that.
did the
He did.
he did this,
Yeah, he
and
did.
then he did the fireball. That yeah, so I was like, oh, he did some Street Fighter right there.
The funny thing is,
Yeah.
Kengu in the comics is more samurai style, like Gilgamesh and Athena to go more physical with his abilities and
Hmm.
go the way of the samurai and his ethics and how he fights. When I first learned about him, I'm like, oh, that'd be cool if they did him with like the scimitar blades, and he's like fighting, like he forms a scimitar out of his energy, and it's like he's fighting like that. But I'll
Hmm.
give him the guns. I'm like, that's cool,
They probably asked him. He's like, what? How do you want to do it? It's just easier to shoot than learn how to use a sword, I guess.
which is fine. I mean, he still was one of the
Yeah.
best. He was
Right.
on my top half.
Yeah. He's like the only one who got severely jacked for this role, who's never shirtless.
That's true. His jawline cut through ice,
Dude,
though.
dude. I remember him before he took this role that his face used to be round.
Yeah.
Since he took the role, I don't know. I'll say this allegedly. I heard that a lot of the actors took some enhancements to help get them to their physique. If it's true or not, I don't know.
I mean, having a
But from him,
24/7 trainer and like dietitian, that's an enhancement.
I do like the fact that they explained why they didn't interfere with Thanos and all the stuff that Avengers went through. They were told not to. They had a mission.
Yeah.
At first, I was confused because they're like waiting for it to be told what to do, and then they wake up and they're like, "Hi, I'm Icarus. Oh, hi, I'm Cersei." I'm like, "Wait a minute, you guys were just sitting next to each other.
You were just there.
You were just sitting next to each other." So it just shows that what you don't get right away, they do explain.
They don't dump the exposition right off the bat like a lot of films do.
Right, you figure out that they're just there they're reawoken
Exactly.
to serve their new purpose.
Yeah, and the only one
Their
that was
mission.
really aware from the get-go was Ajax.
And then Icarus found out.
Well,
Right,
because Ajax told him.
Ajax, exactly, and then his thing was, why he left Cersei's, because he loved her so much, but he was
Conflicted.
he couldn't stand love living a lie or lying to her. Let's go into the end credits. We have two of them. After the first one, I text you because I was excited and highly pissed at the same time.
He sent me a text and I go, "So you sat there to both of them?" He's like, "Shut your mouth, I haven't seen the others."
I was like, "Shush." Okay, so we're introduced two new characters,
Yes.
and I was hearing the voice of
Patton Oswalt.
get me pissed off of that one.
That's because it
we're-
hits the same thing that Angel talks about all the time, reusing the same actors. And he's like, he is definitely like in almost all the Marvel franchises now. Like he's definitely in everything.
He's in Agents of Shield. Agents of Shield. He just did the MODOK Hulu show.
Mm-hmm.
He's done other
He was in Blade 3.
thing, and now in this is Pip. I was like, why? I was like, I know he's a superhero geek.
He was in Big
He's
Hero
a Marvel.
6.
He's the movie or the show,
The show that came out in 2018.
and they're coming out with a new one.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
So I was just like, are we? Why? I mean, I do adore him. I think he's great, but why is he again in another Marvel franchise? I mean, it's one thing that you can hide your voice or disguise your voice, do a different thing, but he's just playing his same voice.
Yeah. I mean, since it's Pip, though, they may have him as more of a recurring character. So that,
Well, I understand that,
could
but
cap
the thing
him
is,
coming back as everybody else.
but maybe not, because there'll probably be another season of MODOK. But again, it's the same voice. It's nothing different. And then Pip introduces Star Fox, which I was excited for. And then I was like, Harry Styles? Who did he sleep with to get that role? The reason why I say that is because you have this movie with exceptional actors. They pay their dues to get these roles. Harry, he has a freaking Marvel role. It just pissed me off.
Well, here's the thing, but it kind of makes sense though. When you look at Eros, Star Fox character in the comics,
Yeah.
he's a sex symbol. He's a playboy. He is definitely like a guy who just wants to go there, party, have fun.
He was in Dunkirk.
Yeah.
He did one movie.
It was a
That was
popular film.
it. I didn't see it.
I didn't see it.
But
yeah.
I'm just saying, one movie and he's now locked in a freaking MCU.
Well, that One Direction has a strong power, man. Hear me out. So, like the fact that he was in that One Direction, he's very popular. He's very loved by genders across the world. There's a lot of girls that are still fandom over him. That was Eros. Eros wasn't like a celebrity singer, but he was that guy who's like, I'm a hero. I'm this guy. I will show up and like, let's party, let's have fun, because he had those pheromones that will come out and he would attract people to him. And he was like a playboy.
To me, Thomas Brody's Sangster would have been a perfect one. He was in Love Actuality, The Queen's Gambit. He was the cowboy chess player. He would have been a better, and he's seasoned. That's the thing for me, seasoned actor, where all these other people were seasoned actors. Sprite, I don't know much more, but she must have more roles than Harry Styles.
I can see what you mean by Thomas Brody.
Let's go into the second one. Oh, but before we go to the second end credit, how is he brother of Thanos again?
Fun fact, the Eternals, they started out on Earth, but then they had a civil war. They split. So one group of Eternals decided, like, we don't want this. We're going to go to Titan. Then they had another civil war, which pretty much decimated Eternal community there, for the most part. There was another dispute between the Eternals here on Earth. They have a lot of infeuding. The two Primes, they were brothers. They separated. So one of them believed in staying true to what the Celestials believed. The other believed that Eternals will die off unless they can learn to procreate, because they don't breed. Like, they can't make more Eternals. They can breed regular beings, but they can't make more. So he goes to Titan, meets one of the survivors of Titan, and they ended up having children together. There was a whole thing as to how they ended up having children. They had to kind of make a deal with a like an eternal god kind of situation. He told him, "You're gonna have kids, but there'll be a price." They had 2 children, which was Thanos and Eros. But Thanos was born with the deviant gene from the get-go. That started the cycle. That was where the price came into play, because basically you'll have 2 kids, but one of them's going to be deformed.
Kind of like twins.
They're essentially like twins, but Thanos is technically the older brother. Yeah, I think he is the older brother. But he is definitely more powerful than a lot of the other Eternals, as well as Eros, because of his deviant genetics augmented his abilities as an Eternal to be even more powerful.
Is Eros an Eternal?
Yeah, but they consider themselves to be Titans just because of where they grew up. It's kind of like us, like we're both Puerto Rican,
Wait a minute,
but like
wait a minute.
People would consider us American versus like being born in Puerto Rico, kind of like that.
Right, but if he's an Eternal, then he's like a robot, like Cersei's and Icarus
Well,
and Gilgamesh.
the way they did it in
Right?
the celestial thing is they kind of make it sound like they are machines, but they're not. They're like, think of
They're
them
like
more
clones.
like bio machines, biological organisms, but they're built to function a certain way, so they're manufactured.
Right, but what I'm saying is like if Eros is an Eternal, then he's also been
He was actually birthed the natural way. Think of Jurassic Park, when they made the dinosaurs weren't supposed to breed, but all of a sudden they find eggs that are incubated in the wild. That's what happened. They are the
well, not
incubated
incubated,
eggs, Thanos and Eros. Where everybody else can't bear children, they were the rare ones.
they're not incubated. They're not incubated because incubated means a tank or something.
But you know what I mean.
But yeah, but I'm just saying they're not incubated. They're just born naturally.
Yeah, they were born naturally, where the others were not. But either way,
Just
he's still the brother of the Mad Titan.
now the second end credit, that one I got excited for because I said it's finally about to happen. That we see the Black Knight.
Oh, and I did like what they did with the sword. That was actually kind of cool.
Oh, I did too. It was cool. It was very cool.
It was so subtle, but I was like, oh.
The blade is
Basically, for those who don't know, we're talking about the Ebony Blade. And the Ebony Blade is like the answer to Excalibur, because at one point Arthur loses the sword, so Merlin makes another sword out of a meteorite, if I remember correctly, and he bestows it to the Black Knight of Arthur's court, who was actually working with Arthur. So he wasn't a bad guy. But as a way to kind of control who wields it, the sword will get more powerful as they fight, but it also induces more bloodlust. So it kind of ends up corrupting the wielder.
Is this similar to Katana, her sword?
Her sword swallows their souls.
Right, but it isn't also the same thing where she uses it, drives the bloodlust for her as well. Am I
That
wrong
I don't.
on that?
See, you would know that better than me. Actually, I knew less about DC than I do Marvel. I would have to double check on that. But basically, the part that I liked that was cool was like how he moves his hand. He doesn't touch the blade, but like the blade almost like reaches out to him.
Right.
And the really cool thing
Kind of
about
like,
the blade
kind of
is
like,
it can cut through anything, literally like
right.
anything, because it's magically imbued. So it makes it extremely deadly sword.
Kind of like how like the symbiote reaching
Yes,
for its
there's
host.
there is a technical symbiotic relationship between it and its host, because it also keeps him alive. There's a point in the comic book where the Black Knight gets sent back in time, and he literally stays alive through centuries because he's continuing to wield the sword. As long as he's the owner of the sword, he can summon it to him like Thor's hammer. It has a lot of different abilities, and he's actually one of the longest running Avengers that everybody forgets about.
Was he really an Avenger? Because I thought he was kind of like not officially an Avenger.
Oh
He was
no, he
more
had
like,
a series when they first introduced him, he was not official, and then he became official. It's just that he was always overshadowed, in all honesty. And then he left, and then he came back. But he's been an Avenger he's one of the longest ongoing running members.
Now, we heard a voice,
Yes.
and I told you who I thought it was. And you're like, nope.
Yep.
And that pissed me off too. A couple things. I thought it was the Watcher, which would make perfect sense.
Fair.
But you said it was Blade.
It was confirmed. The director
Yeah,
confirmed it.
but it makes no sense still at the same time because he just showed up in the room. Hello, the room was closed, what have you, and he's walking back and forth. He doesn't see him there. Blade just shows up magically.
I mean, that's what Blade
Where
does, though.
he goes through walls.
If Nick Fury
I
can do
can't.
it,
In a room that no door has opened, and he just shows up. Now the Watcher, he could just phase in, no problem, to warn him, who he shouldn't, but he does. He breaks that commitment or that oath. I just can't see it. Only I can see that it is Blade is because they're getting ready for the next installment, which will
yes.
be probably Blade. I just like it thinking that it is the Watcher. Even though you tell me it's not, okay, fine. I just like it that way because to me it makes more sense. And it's just too on the nose if it is Blade. He's about to pick up a blade, and then you hear the actor playing Blade. It was just like on the nose, too much. Let's give our final review on this. Is this one to own, multi-watch?
I'll be comfortable with this on clearance.
Okay, I can do that with also clearance.
That sounds fair.
All right. So now Disney Plus had a day, more like a weekend. Disney Plus had their own special announcements. They talked about Pixar, some Star Wars, but also Marvel. So let's get to that. Oh, okay. Did you get a chance to catch Disney Plus Day?
No, I didn't watch it live, but I did watch
Oh
the
no, it's
trailer.
not. It's not. DC had their DC fandom, which
Mhm.
was live, which you caught on YouTube and other platforms, but I think it was strictly on YouTube. Where Disney Plus, they just made announcements and placed it on their streaming service. The release of Shang-Chi, they put it on there. They also put the behind the scenes of Shang-Chi. Then they made announcements like for Disney, Pixar related stuff. Oh, Jungle Book also came out on the 12th.
Really?
You know,
Okay. Didn't
yeah.
know about that.
So you can watch that as well. You can then they had some shorts from Luca, and you have the one from Frozen, the snowman,
Olaf.
and then they had a little announcement with Star Wars with Obi-Wan, and then they did a little like 14-minute announcement with what to expect with Marvel, be the MCU and on Disney Plus.
Hmm.
It's pretty much on Disney Plus, but also of course to be related to the MCU. Everything's all related to it. Did you catch that? The 14-minute.
I got to see the trailers of some of their stuff. So like I
That's
saw,
pretty much what it was.
yeah, but I didn't watch it as the show. I saw like individualized. I saw Marvel Studios, She-Hulk, Moon Knight,
Yes.
Baymax, which I count that as
Yes.
Marvel.
It's not, but it was done in the
It's well,
Marvel.
Big Hero 6
But it's
is a
not. It's,
Marvel
right,
series.
but it's not MCU.
No, correct. It's just not MCU. I saw
Right.
Captain Marvel and I saw the Secret Invasion.
Secret Invasion trailer.
There's a clip. They show like
A
old
clip.
Nick. Well, it's a teaser. It's a teaser to be precise. They show
Yeah,
like
because I was gonna
old
say
Nick Fury.
what I'm saying is like I saw that too. I was like, oh yeah, with the eye patch off and the scratch
Hmm.
and the gray beard. Okay, for me, what I saw was like a lengthy trailer for Hawkeye. It was more like a scene from the show. Didn't really care for that because I'm gonna watch it anyway. So I didn't really wasn't too excited to watch another trailer or an extended clip. I did catch She-Hulk. See, now that I'm confused because Mark Ruffalo, we see him as Smart Hulk. We didn't see Smart
Just call him
in
Professor.
Shang-Chi. Banner.
The funny thing is, a lot of people say that's actually an editing mistake. Like Mark Ruffalo didn't want to get in the outfit, and it was like last minute to have him in this the end credit scene. So people were like,
We had this talk.
"Oh yeah,
I told you. I had told you this.
man, it's been a while."
Now, confirmed or not, I wasn't sure, but
I've heard other
okay.
people
Well,
like I'm going with it's not 100%, but that kind of goes with what we were saying and it makes sense timeline wise in
mhm.
regards to this. Unless they're saying that she was around before the Shang-Chi moment. So unless we see that happen,
Was his arm in a sling? I can't remember.
I didn't see his arm in a sling. So
So it
it
may
could have
have.
been before Endgame.
That's a possibility too. What I didn't like about this presentation is that they went through all the previous television of WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier,
Hmm.
Loki. I understand because it's all connected
Yeah,
and
because
they're like branch offs, but I wanted to see trailers. I wanted to see
actual scenes.
of the new shows to get me more excited. They spent like 10 minutes of the past shows, more like 8 minutes because of the Hawkeye scene.
Hmm.
And I didn't really get that excited. I mean, I saw the Moon Knight one. The Moon Knight was awesome.
Moon Knight
Oscar
didn't do
playing
good.
that role. I was a big Moon Knight fan, even though I was confused a lot of times because the character itself deals with multi-personality disorder.
True.
But just the simplicity of the costume that is was white. It was just a total contrast of Batman, who was always in dark clothes or blue and gray, and
He
it was
is
like a
essentially
counter,
Marvel's Batman.
but a little more deranged
Yes.
because he'll go into a different character. He'll be the millionaire playboy. He'll be the bum. He'll be the taxi driver. He'll just go into different personas. But the only thing that remained was the character of Moon Knight. I would love to see how Oscar does with this role. She-Hulk looks a lot better than I anticipated. Captain Marvel, I am excited about that. Not Captain Marvel, sorry, Miss Marvel. Which I like what they showed there. They showed a little bit of that she was influenced by Captain Marvel because she wears the costume like for Halloween, something like that. Scroll evasion, I'm kind of well, they didn't really show anything, so I'm not really. What about you? Like, what are you excited about?
Honestly, the She-Hulk one got me really. I was always a big She-Hulk fan. So the fact that like it looks like
She
they're
was
gonna do, yeah, it looks like it's
hot
gonna do
too.
well. I'm intrigued about Agatha Harkness, the House of Harkness.
I thought that got put to the shelf. Apparently, is on board.
The Ms. Marvel. Correct me if I'm wrong. That looks like to be a show
Yes,
because the movie's Marvels
I think what they was going to do is going to introduce.
spin off to the
Right,
show. Hmm.
right, because you have Ms. Marvel, you have Phantom.
Moon Knight definitely got my intrigue, and I got into Moon Knight because of my brother too. I followed that character even less, as like I was like so confused just trying to read it. He was still a very cool character, confusing for me to follow. I had no
Right,
starting point. Echo, I know for a fact that's gonna be a spinoff of a Hawkeye because she's supposed to be introduced in there.
which is weird up with Echo because she originated from Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
She was a lover of Matt Murdock. Could be wrong, but I think they fought each other without realizing who each other was until like maybe a kiss or a fighting style movement that Echo realized it's the same person, or Daredevil realized it was the same person. It was kind of like that kind of thing because she's deaf,
But
where he was blind.
Daredevil had many moments like that. Like that same happened with him and Typhoid Mary.
Right.
He's bad with picking the proper ladies. Ironheart gonna be interesting to me because that's playing off of Iron Man, and that's supposed to deal with Iron Man, like the Hollow Iron Man, Hollow Tony Stark.
The what?
I call it the Hollow. Is the AI version of Tony Stark.
Talking about Iron Man, you have also the Armor Wars with Rhodey.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm excited about because that's gonna be live action. You said Marvel Zombies, which we saw from the first season of What If.
Yep.
So I'm interested in seeing what they're gonna do with that. Season 2 has been announced for What If, as well as season 2 for Loki.
I was not surprised about Loki though. I was like,
Well, we knew about that at the end of season 1. They
yeah,
made that announcement. Then they're doing like a Christmas special with I Am Groot, or they're doing another spin-off with I Am Groot, which I
it's
guess
for the
it's more for the
kids.
kids. Another one which I thought was gonna be cool is there's 2 animations
Yes.
also coming.
One of them I'm super psyched for.
The other one I'm kind of excited for, the freshman year, which I'm not really, but Spider-Man
Mm-hmm.
freshman year. Is it really needed? I don't know.
That's up for
But
debate.
X-Men 97,
Oh my
they're
god,
bringing
yes.
back the majority of the original cast of the Fox series X-Men.
That's a
I
risky
just,
play though. That's so risky.
how so?
So the original X-Men series, for those of you who have not seen it, get yourself a Disney Plus membership. Just binge watch it over the weekend. It's good.
It's
Like
like 3 seasons. Is it 3
five.
seasons?
So
Five
the
seasons. Okay.
first 4 seasons were done like by Canadian crew and whatnot, and then they sent out their animation for like the fifth season to like Vietnam or someplace like that. It was some overseas. They
Hmm.
went to a third party company, and it was around that time when they started doing like the end credit scene that was Japanese animation. They just threw that in there, and it was
Okay.
around that fifth season where you were seeing that, and we're like, "Where's this coming from?" But
Hmm.
basically, the storyline from seasons 1 through 4 were fantastic.
I just want the original music back.
It was a simple music score.
No, I know, but they may change it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I just wonder if they're going to keep the same art style.
It's funny to me because the animation, when you look back to it, the art style looks great, but the animation wasn't that smooth.
No, it's very blocky, very stiff,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. It's going to be a continuation from the last season.
I would be surprised if they're going to do X-Men 97. How can they not be a continuation?
We don't know because
It's a
anything.
huge time jump.
Well, they're going to keep it in the 90s,
Really?
obviously. Why would they call it X-Men 97?
Well, I mean, like we're just referencing that series.
This is all official like Fox jump because Disney Plus has the X-Men movies and Fantastic Four, all of them
Hmm.
from those originally owned by Fox. Now this is the first Disney production of X-Men since its merger or the out buy. Is it a merger? It's a merger, right?
No, it was a buyout. Fox didn't merge with.
Buyout then.
Yeah, they bought those titles and
The,
franchises from Fox.
Now, will they ruin it or do it justice? We have yet to see. Again, we just got announcements. We didn't get any kind of feedback or any kind of feed, which I'm disappointed about. The only thing I'm excited about or we got from is the Moon Knight, it's the She-Hulk. I really don't care about the zombies ones, really, to tell you the truth. Even though it is a fan fave for many.
It all
I'm
depends
just
how
not,
they do it. But if it's gonna be,
yeah.
I mean, I enjoyed the what they did in What If. I was like,
Oh,
I wanted more. That's what where they left it off. It made me want more of this.
for me, I got my fill. I was like, all right. I'm just really excited to see where everything relates because we have the where Loki with the multiverse. I understand we're gonna get the one with Far From Home, and we're gonna get it with Doctor Strange's movie. But how does everything else relate? How is it all connected? Because that's what's so great about the phase 1, 2, and 3 that they were all connected. They all got that connection down the
Hmm.
line. So I'm just excited how they're gonna do it here. Because right now with Shang-Chi, with the Internals, Black Widow, well, Black Widow's a different time frame. Well, they brought it into the current time. Like, is it gonna be split off into multiverse or Secret Invasion? Because you have two storylines going now. You have this Secret Invasion line, and you have the multiverse line.
True.
Oh,
And
they're all
then you're
gonna
gonna have
connect.
whatever storyline that starts with Blade. But I mean,
Oh,
if it was Blade, that could lead into like Midnight Suns and the Supernatural because that would be cool if Blade goes into like you see his character involved with Moon Knight.
that would be awesome. Because Moon Knight was part of the Marvel Knights,
Mm-hmm.
I think. So
Yeah,
was
no,
the
he was.
Punisher.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Daredevil at one time.
Yeah,
Ghost Rider was definitely.
and Daredevil will be in the Spider-Man movie.
Are you sure?
The guy who plays Matt Murdock.
Are you sure?
That's the rumor.
Are you sure?
Like my sources that I talked to, they're pretty confident.
I won't mind because no, because they were saying that before on it from a video clip, and then an IMAX version of that clip showed it was not him; it was a regular cop.
But I was hearing about it before that
It will be a welcomed
addition.
entry
Yeah,
or addition because he's great. He's great. He's got an award from the Blind Society
because he
because he
went
does it so
so
right.
into it. Yeah.
They said he gets it how it is to be blind, and I was like, wow. All right, well, I mean, nothing really much to say about Disney Plus except for it just gave us a lot of hoopla. The Obi-Wan, they didn't show nothing about the Obi-Wan series. They just talked about it, like what could happen. They're excited about the
Yeah, I
Book of Boba
mean,
Fett.
we got
The
some
Book of
stuff for
Boba
their
Fett, same
other
thing.
franchises that they do, like the Book of Boba Fett, like you were saying.
What was cool about the Book of Boba Fett one, they gave the history of Boba Fett and how he became a fan favorite, and then it led into the upcoming series.
Hmm.
That was kind of cool. Overall, I didn't get excited for this as I did for DC fandom.
Well, yeah, because they had more
DC,
trailers, to be honest. DC fandom had more
right,
visual aids to help get us hyped up.
right.
I'm a huge Willow fan. I love that movie.
Oh, that's right.
It's one of my
That's right.
favorite fantasy films, if not the favorite fantasy film for me. And they had the
Right.
original actor who played Willow, but there was no
Mm-hmm.
scenes or anything. He's just like talking over the cast, and they were just doing this bit about like who's who, how to
Right.
say Matt Garrigan, Mad Mard. Oh my! Now I'm the one that can't say it. Val
The
Kilmer's character.
that was also done by George Lucas, directed by Ron Howard,
Mm-hmm.
which I forgot. I thought was for some reason I thought it was Steven Spielberg, but that's Raiders of the Lost Arks. I am excited because that was also one of mine favorite too. Even though it got shitted on by many critics, I guess they were trying to think it was some, like the next Star Wars, whatever. And I was like, it doesn't have to be. It was just fun.
It was his own
It's just a
standalone
it's,
thing. It was, you know
yeah.
what? Before everything popped off, I was still
Mm.
hanging out with some of my friends that never seen the movie Willow. So I was like, I
Oh,
sat
really?
them
Wow.
down and I made them watch it. And it was funny, like at first they were talking and everything, but by the time the movie was done, because it's like 2 hours long, like
Mm-hmm.
they were just sitting there watching the entire thing, like dead silent. And it
Mm-hmm.
finished, and they're like, "Wow, that is surprisingly like super really like." They're like, "When did this come out?" I'm like, before you all were born.
It is a good film. It is done well. I mean, I got to rewatch it again because I used to watch it.
They got it on Disney Plus for sure, and
No, I
it's
know.
at 1080p, I want to say. But I
Yeah.
feel like I want to find it on 4K because it still looks good. There's some parts that are like you don't stand a test, but like
Probably the graphics though.
it's just the
Probably the
graphics of it.
CGI.
Yeah, but
But
it
for
still
me,
looks so good.
no, I bet
The
you
story
I
is
was
what
gonna say
carries it. It's like Star Wars and like Lord of the Rings had a love child. That's what pretty much what it is. Because it
because
talks about like a
Val.
chosen child, bringing
Mm-hmm.
balance. There's a lot of similarities to those two.
I forgot about Willow's coming out with a series, so thank you for reminding me. But anyway, but that's pretty much it.
I mean, and title alone really does like I didn't get no animation for X-Men '97, but just hearing that, I get excited for that.
I don't know. I wasn't that much of a fan. I guess my age time when in '97, I
The
was
show
just
came out
starting
before
college.
'97. It was like '94, I want to
Right,
say, when it
right.
first aired.
One original, like not the original, but last remaining like Saturday morning cartoons.
True. And you gotta also remember when it was out, it was also competing against other cartoons that were very highly. That was a good decade for cartoons. Batman, the animated series, was out.
But it was on the same show. It was on the same channel.
Yes, but as far as popularity, people were more into Batman, the animated series, than they were into X-Men.
But wasn't X-Men on Saturday and Batman was on Monday through Friday?
Not at first. No, it was like a weekly thing.
Batman?
Yeah, and then became like a daily thing.
I don't know.
I'm going by
Know about
memory now,
that.
but the same thing could be
Yeah.
said about Spider-Man. Spider-Man was also beating around that time. The animated series with Spider-Man.
That was on the weekends also. It was not on the weekday.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't really competing with each other if they're on the same channel.
What I mean by competing is like they're on the same channel, but you're fighting for like who's most recognized, who's getting more views, who's getting most awards. They ended up comparing those three a lot. As far as rankings, a lot of critics and viewers would put Batman first, and then it was always like between Spider-Man and X-Men. From my memory,
To me, Spider-Man was not as good as the X-Men.
Spider-Man was cool though in the sense that that was the first one that really had the multiverse. Spider-Man crossed over into like Fantastic Four, X-Men.
They tried. They tried all these things to get viewership. They tried the Spider-Man 2099. They tried the one with the multiverse aspect.
Oh no, I'm talking about in the original Spider-Man animated series. In the actual storyline, they crossed over into like the actual X-Men series, and they crossed over into the Fantastic series that was ongoing. So they did have those characters bleed over.
All right, now I gotta watch now one. I don't remember at all. At that time, you were home and I was doing track meets.
This is
So
true.
last
There was a
Saturday-
12-year gap between us, but X-Men did have some really good stories, and they had some crossovers. But X-Men was very much standalone.
I got some homework to do.
Yes, the season 5
What
is
else
a
would I-
weird one though. I like you said, there's a lot of names being thrown out, and right now I'm iffy about it until I get to see more clips. Like I've been excited and not excited for the She-Hulk one since day one, and I was excited about it because of the fact that I grew up with She-Hulk, a huge fan of sensational She-Hulk, and the fact that they are saying like she's gonna be going from it as being an attorney, a lawyer, that makes sense. That's how she was in the comics. So the fact that they kind of referenced her back in the 70s or 60s. She's like, you won't like me when I'm angry, kind of situation.
That part I did like. When they did that, and he was standing the same way that Bill Bixby was standing, and wearing the same outfit in the sense of the denim shirt and the jeans, and she was dressed like the reporter.
He had the permed out hair.
And the thing is that she was saying Banner's line to the reporter. It was just funny in that way. I saw that the flashback they did there, and I liked. But yeah, she was talking to the camera instead of the.
It looked like a commercial.
All right, listen, I had to get to bed.
Yes.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today on watching our marvelous review of Eternals and Disney Plus Day. If you like, what are you doing?
Just pointing at Disney Plus right there.
Oh yeah, oh gotcha. If anything to comment, please do so. Again, make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. Until next time, will be the next time. I'm Angel.
I'm Adon.
Love you, bro.
Love you too.